I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. General Lovell, you were not on this or the Armed Services Committee's primary list of people that were interviewed in this process, and yet you came forward here today, came forward to the committee. Could you explain to us why you believe it was necessary to come forward to offer us your testimony?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I came forward because as a retired officer, most importantly, having served a number of years, I felt it was my duty to come forward. The young men and women that serve in uniform, those that serve along with us in civilian clothes, the circumstances of what occurred there in Benghazi that day need to be known. And with all of the discussion that ensues over a full forthcoming to the American people, it's important. It's a duty to be here.
Thank you. Our committee has interviewed a number of people, including those downrange, people both in Libya and in Benghazi. But as I said earlier, we for the most part, have not interviewed people at AFRICOM, the exception, of course, being General Ham, although Carter Ham was at the Pentagon on September 11th. Do you believe it is appropriate for us to interview other officers and enlisted personnel that served with you in Stuttgart that day as part of our discovery of what they believe could have been done, not just in what we military people call the two shop, but also in the three shop and so on?
Sir, I think if it's any information that gives the most well-rounded picture of the occurrences of the time are important to obtain.
One of the questions as we fan out here, but one of the questions that I have for you is your primary job is, in fact, knowing the risk, knowing who the bad guys are and where they are, and knowing what might face them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So your expertise is not in the operational response of what refuelers were where and could have reacted within a certain amount of time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
However, you were intimately familiar with the risk of extremist groups in Egypt, Libya, and throughout the North Africa, and for that matter, all of Africa. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, African Command basically doesn't have any jets. It doesn't have any conventional divisions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you leverage all the other commands when you need physical boots on the ground. Is that right?
Boots on the ground, planes in the air, ships in the sea, et cetera. Right.
However, the role of African Command, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so please correct me if I'm even a little off,
I will.
Is in fact to look at a continent in which we have almost no troops and almost no basing. We have a small joint base in Djibouti, I believe, but for the most part we have no military assets, major military assets in Africa. Is it fair to say that counterterrorism, looking for and being aware and working with the governments in Africa, with or without, if necessary, to combat terrorism and, in fact, to make sure that governments are stable and able to support our missions, USAID and the aid missions and the embassies, is that really, to a great extent, why there's a unique command with 4-star general in charge of it that focuses on this continent of 1 billion people, larger than North America?
That's precisely the understanding. It's to help Africans, and to work with Africans and our other partners to do so.
So, in that role, on September 11th, earlier, there was an attack in Egypt. Did you know of, anticipate, or do you believe that the attack in Egypt was based on seeing a YouTube video?
Personally, no.
So that never came to you, even though intelligence and what may have caused something would have been right up your, if you will, alley?
Yes, sir.
And in the hours that ensued after the attack on our consulate compound in Benghazi, did you hear YouTube video?
Briefly discussed, but not from any serious standpoint.
And what time did you first hear that there was a video, roughly?
It was early on in the evening of September 11th.
Before 3:15 in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we were absolutely. I would have to say probably dismissed that notion by then by working with other sources.
Okay. I just want to follow up with this one last thing. You heard about this early on, and you, as the deputy and the highest-ranking person that moment working these issues, you dismissed the idea that this attack was, in fact,